All right, everyone. Welcome in UGA Football Live with JC Shelton. That is former Georgia tight end Arthur Lynch. It's good to have you back, Artie. It's been a little bit. I know you were learning, conjunctions, run-on sentences, fragments, to avoid those and the square roots of things. I know you were learning that, so I know that took up a lot of your time and your bandwidth. But now you're back ahead of Georgia-Mississippi State.
We're back. We're back. I know I missed a big one. Obviously, missed a couple. Alabama game was something fierce, but at the same time, I was not surprised that we were able to bounce back the way we did. I know I gave my predictions. I was not quite there, but I figured it would be a big blowout. But happy to be back, learning a lot of different things, ABCs, 1, 2, 3, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, and you did call the Auburn game pretty well too. You both were close on that one. We kind of got back to it after that weird week there with Alabama. But yeah, so there's plenty to talk about here in a bit about Georgia-Mississippi State. We'll get into some other news nuggets first, but I do want to go ahead and welcome in another guest, another former Georgia Bulldog, the Arizona Cardinals nominee for the 2023 Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award. Played at Georgia from 2015 to 18, 43 games, 122 tackles, 4.5 sacks. That is Jon Ledbetter. Welcome in to the stage here.
Man, thank you guys for having me. Glad to be on. Appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Always, man. You're a beast, man. I'm pumped you're here.
I'm glad to be here, man. Dogs supporting dogs. That's how we got to stay.
I love it, man. Love it. Let's go.
No, so Jon, we always kind of ask this question to the first-time guests, and I'd love to hear your version. We've heard it from Artie and a lot of his former teammates as well, but talk us through like your recruiting process a little bit if you can, and what made Georgia the destination for you. And I know that was Mark Richt at the time, but kind of what went into that for you and making Athens and the Classic City your home there for a few years.
Absolutely. It was pretty simple for me. I'm huge on family. That's like the most important thing to me, and as it is most people. So, the recruiting process, I was actually committed to Alabama for like 2.5 years. I was going to end up going there, and my brother, he played basketball. I have two older brothers and a younger sister. So my oldest brother, he actually played basketball at a small school called Pfeiffer, and he ended up just, he was playing there. He wasn't really liking it, and he was like, "Man, I think I want to go back to playing football." And he hadn't played football in about 4 years. He's a little rusty. I want to say 4 years, 4.5 years since high school. So he just kind of expressed that to me, and I was like, "Well, I'm about to go to school. I'm going to Alabama or UGA." I was like, I don't have any problem asking like, "Hey, my brother wants to come play football. He looks just like me, like spitting image, size, and everything." And I'm like, "Why would you not want two Ledbetters when Why would you not want two when you have the ability to get two? Just take one. Like, nah, it doesn't make sense." So, I just started doing my pitches, around to these schools. And, Alabama, they were one of the schools. They're like, "Well, he can come for sure." They was like, "He can be a walk-on. We just can't give him a scholarship." And the craziest thing, when I went to, visit with Georgia, I had my official visit, Coach Rick actually came to our house. And I tell the story all the time. He actually, we were going to cook for him, and we had like steaks and everything like that. He actually ended up cooking for my family. So he got on the grill and was making steaks and going crazy. And then I just asked him, I was like, "Hey, like, this is the most important thing to me, the people in his house." And I was like, "My brother wants to come play football. And, he hasn't played in a couple of years. He played in high school. He had the ability. He just started playing basketball, but he's an athlete." And it was crazy. I was like, "He's going to say no for sure." And he was like, "Absolutely. And I will give him a scholarship too. How about that?" And he ended up getting a full scholarship, and he played tight end. He wore the same number as Artie, and it was pretty crazy. He actually went before me because I was still a junior in high school. So he went before me. He spent a year there. So he was with Artie, he was with Todd, he was with all those guys. And then the following year, these guys left, and my brother was there that was his senior year. He was there 1 year, so we got to play 1 year together, and it was really dope. It was really dope, just kind of experience having your brother on the team and kind of encouraging you, and your older brother at that too. So it was like, for me, it was a definitely a learning curve, college. Being from a military family, so it was cool to navigate that with my older brother, and just to have him, family be that close to you.
What a cool story. I had never heard that story about Coach Rick, but you know, I got a lot of love for Coach Rick, man. So I'm glad that yeah, I'm glad you got the best of both worlds, man. You got some years of Kirby. You got to obviously get to know Coach Rick, and I'm gonna cherish that story for sure, man. Thank you for sharing that.
John, the real question is, and everybody's thinking this: how were the steaks, man?
They were actually really good. I'm not gonna lie, like solid medium steaks. You know what I mean? Like, and like a lot of my family, like so like I'm a medium rare kind of guy now, but back then I was definitely like a medium, medium well. So I was like, you can burn them a little bit, like we're not gonna notice, So he did a really good job though. He didn't burn anything. He made the sides too, so it was great. I think we had like corn and like potatoes, sweet baked potatoes. So he did the whole nine. It was definitely a shock to us. So we ate everything, and he ate with us, and it was probably one of like the coolest experiences, from a high school kid to have like a college coach come into your home and not only eat with you but like cook for you.
That's
and
wild.
I say this joke all the time. Coach Saban actually came to my house as well too, and he came with who was it, Lance Thompson. And my mom had I just got home from practice, and they were like at the house, and like this was a joke. I was like, I went to Georgia because Coach Rick came and cooked, and Coach Saban came to my house, and my mom had just made like sweet tea, and he had like 3 glasses of it, and I was like, he drank all the sweet tea before I could get me. So
Yeah.
I said he was just taking. Coach Rick came and he was serving, so I was like, I'm going to that school.
Man, that's. I'll tell you one thing, Coach Rick. Very calm guy, but he's smooth. People don't give him credit now.
He was smooth.
He's a smooth dude. You know what I mean? He had my family wrapped up around his fingers as well. He was very good with the family, no doubt about it.
Dude, he could sell the mess out of some cars if he didn't do the college football route.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
And no doubt about it. But
absolutely. John, and kind of speaking on that note, you kind of hit them all there. You committed to Alabama for that long. You had to know Colbie, right?
I did. Yeah, I did.
Right. So then, you spend that year with Rick, and then Colbie comes in, and you kind of get the rest of your career with him. Kind of, what was the differences, if you had to name maybe one or two, anything that comes to mind as far as, I guess, their coaching styles? I think some personality traits are pretty similar, but yeah, what are your thoughts there?
Honestly, I would say that they're both, amazing coaches in their own light. In their own ways. Their personalities are definitely different. It was crazy because when I was committed, Colbie was like, I'm gonna coach you, one way or the other. And like, fast forward, I didn't realize he was like thinking about taking a different job. So he ended up, the very next year being there and being my coach. And then when you do your welcome meeting, welcome when you get a new coach, he literally like saw me. He was like, I told you. And it was like, this was like, 2 years later. So I'm like, really 3 years later. And I'm like, okay, like, yeah, he was for real. Like, I didn't know, like, it comes full circle like that. But I would definitely say the biggest difference between them, Coach Rick, he was like, man, like, I want everybody on this team to, be a certain man before, the game of football, and I think that was the most important thing to him. Not saying that's not important to Colbie, but the demand of that standard was like, okay, Colbie was like, I want that, but like, you're going to be a man and you're also going to be a beast at the same time on the field. And Coach Rick, he was like, they were winning, like, you know what I mean? Like, they had a good football team, like incredible players. And I feel like he was just like, hey, I want to cultivate these guys far beyond the football field first. And football is important to me, but the men are more important to me than the game of football. And I think that was okay with him. You know what I mean? He didn't care what anybody said about the guys or, anything about the outside people. It was like, hey, this is the family, and whatever we need to do for this family to win games, also raise good men, that's what I'm going to do. And I just think that when Colbie came in, it was like, hey, like, that culture that was at Georgia before was an incredible culture. Like, don't get me wrong. He was like, hey, like, you gotta call a spade a spade. He was like, we have to do more if we want to get past the 10-game win mark or, the 11 game, or, if we want to go to win a national championship. And I think the installation of being a team that was not necessarily led by the coach itself, like, Coach Rick, incredible leader, like people wanted to follow him. Colbie came in the sense of like, hey, like, I want you guys to follow me, but not as people who are just doing what I say. I want you guys to lead yourselves in a way
Mhm.
that I don't have to do any of this as a coach. So I can just focus on the small things of coaching, while you guys focus on the stuff that you got to focus on as players, player-led coaches. And it was literally like that. Like, it was literally the first year we were not that good. We lost to like Georgia Tech, I think. They were eating up our shrubs and all type, like the hedges. It was bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, man, I don't know. Like, I was like, I trust you, but like, I don't know what's going on. And it was a turning period. And honestly, that year when we kind of got that sour taste in our mouths of like, dang, like, it's going to be different. Like, we have to. It's what we make of it. And my junior year, I can vividly remember, us as a team, coming together, and we made pacts, we made agreements, and we made all these things as a team without the coach, and that's when I became one of the leaders for the guys after, my situation and like all the stuff that I had to go through in college. And it was profound, truthfully. I think that was the biggest difference is, we really just became a team that we had coaches, but truthfully, we just needed them to call the plays, and sometimes we didn't even need them to do that. And it made a world of a difference, for being there my first year with Rick, and seeing a team where it was like, looking to coaches for guidance all the time. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, or that's honestly a testament to the coach, because that's the type of person he is. And
Mhm.
Colbie was just like, I come from a program that was just like that, guys following Saban, and he was like, but this is my program now, and I want to do things a little bit differently to instill a culture that isn't just necessarily, hey, coach said do this, coach said do that. It's like, your brother said that you should do this, or your brother thinks that you should do that, to help the team. And once he kind of put that type of mindset in us, it was contagious. Like, we were literally like, you got the guys who used to be, the bad kids, or like the worst kids on the team, or, the problem children, they call them. And you got those guys like, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. And it's just like, wait a minute, like, whoa, like, like, where's this? You used to be the guys like, well, now we're this team, now we're these guys.
Mhm.
And people bought in, and it was for sure different. And I know you wanted to talk about the team this year, and I've actually had the ability to go back and talk to them 2 times now, just
Awesome.
from a mentor, public speaker standpoint for my nonprofit. And
Mhm.
I kind of, I'm a realist, you know what I mean, and I'm not like a person who just wants to be a yes man, or I'm just going to just give you a speech to make you feel good. Like, I just want you to come away with something. And that's what
Mhm.
I told them. I was like, and I kind of look at this team, I see the beginning stages of what we had when Colbie first got in. And it's crazy because culture is different. When you win, there's obviously a winning culture, but there's also a disease, they call it, when you win a lot, because you get away with certain things as a team, good or bad, and those things start to accumulate over time. And if you don't, check yourself, or check anchor, you start to drift away from that culture. And I told the guys, I was like, hey, like, people think this Georgia team is not the same as the other teams. It's up to you guys to prove yourselves to each other, not anyone else, but to each other. And that starts with becoming a team that is player led. And that means, you guys are unfortunate. And obviously, nobody wants to be the a-hole on the team, but sometimes it takes a few people to be that, so that everyone can be successful, that everyone is like operating on the same, operating procedure. So it's like, all right, well, this guy's not above this, and he scores 3 touchdowns a game. This guy's not above that, and he doesn't even, get on the field, but he's very much, a part of this team, a part of everything, the heartbeat, So it's just like I told those guys, like, you gotta get into that, and it's different for them. It's a different climate, For us, football was more pure. You go out there, it's still a gladiator sport, but now there's just so much into it, NIL, these guys are getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's hard to keep the main thing, when the main focus of us was like, okay, well, like I'm going to do super good in college so I can make it to the NFL, have an opportunity to make, you know, XYZ amount of dollars, you know, whatever guys dreamed of, you know. And like now it's like, well, I'm in college and I'm already making, you know, $500,000. So like this is better than anything I could have experienced. So it's kind of hard. There's going to have to be a new culture implemented there, and those guys are going to have to be the ringleaders, and that's what I pretty much told them. And it has to continue to be redeveloped. So
Yeah.
and that takes work, and that takes the people who are there, and we're not there anymore. So those guys got to do it.
Yeah. So John, speaking on that, and I was going to ask you about this anyway, but that's kind of a perfect segue. You mentioned that you spoke to these guys this year a couple of times. Was any of part of that about the off-field behavior?
100%.
You know, and as a guy who's been in their shoes before as a team there in the Athens, and Athens is a fun place, but you can get into some things that you don't need to be into. It's really easy to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do you mind sharing a little bit about what that message was, maybe from your experience, giving that to them, like, hey, this is what I learned, and it's up to you to either implement that
Mm-hmm.
or not, and that's going to decide your future and how people look at you, and then how the league is going to look at you.
100%. So, but I mean, you know, everyone has a story, and everyone has trials and tribulations. You know, I've had my fair share in the Classic City. You know, Artie knows too. Like it's just you can get into anything you want to get into there. It's available, especially when you're an athlete, and people don't realize at times. We're still humans in college. We're still kids essentially. We just have a lot of responsibility and we're in a bigger spotlight. But we're still learning. Even when you leave college, you're still learning, and these kids are still learning. But I just told them, I was like, you have to make a choice. Your life is measured with the culmination of decisions that you make along that journey, whether they're good or bad. You will see what that equals at some point. And I just told him, you guys got to be men. I said, boys, they do what they want to do, and men, they do what they have to do when they have to do it, at the right appropriate times. And I was like, I'm not telling you guys you can't have fun. I was like, because I had fun in college. And I was like, but the biggest thing that I realized, there's a time and a place for everything. So, there's a time and a place for discipline. There's a time and a place for seriousness and commitment and dedication. And then there's also a time to, have fun, to relax, to, be yourself, to, be creative, do whatever, and those things can all be done in a safe way. So, I just kind of told them, like, you guys got to watch out for each other. I was like, no one's going to care, how fast you drove your car through campus or how many girls you talked to or any of that, once you leave these doors. And even in these doors, the only people that care are you guys. Like, no one else cares about that stuff. And I was like, when you look up and you finally realize that, then you can move forward. I was like, you guys got to set realistic goals for yourselves and figure out how to enforce them as a team, but not have people force you to enforce it. You've always had those teams where coaches are like, you need to tell so-and-so to do this, or you need to tell so-and-so to do that. But it should be like, hey, like, I'm your brother. I want to win. And I think that in order for us to win or to us to achieve our goals, we got to do things this way. I would love it if you, could buy in. And, that's the first formal conversation. And sometimes, you got to do a little tough love, but that's what I gave them. I'm like a metaphor analogies person. So I pretty much told them, I was like, if you want anything in life, it takes time. And I was like, you pick the time you want to start it. I was like, you think about a good meal. I love to cook. Fat boy by heart. So I was like, if you want any good meal, and you put it in a crock pot, I was like, if you cook it for a little bit, it's gonna be nasty. It's probably not gonna be done. I was like, but if you want that food to be good in that crock pot, you got to put it on low and slow, and you got to let it cook for some hours. And I was like, maybe a day. You don't know. And I was like, that's how you got to look at your life. I was like, maybe you might put it in the crock pot and it might cook for 6 hours and it comes out amazing. Maybe you put yourself in a crock pot and you got to cook for some years. You know what I mean? But when that meal is done, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be worth it. So, I told these guys, I was like, you think about it, and most people want a microwave life. You put it in the microwave and you press it on for 30 seconds or a minute, and everything happened fast. And most of the time when you put stuff in the microwave, it don't taste as good if you cook it low and slow, you know what I mean? Or if you cook it, in the oven, or if you cook it in the crock pot, it don't have as much flavor. You lose some of that seasoning. So I was like, you'll lose some of that hard work if you just try to rush through everything and make it quick. You might have a plate, but it don't make sure it's going to be good. It doesn't mean it's going to be good. And that's kind of how I just broke it down to them. And it was crazy because I spoke to them 2 times this year, and I spoke to them last year as well. And Coach Smart was like, I'm not going to lie. He was like, you're probably the best speaker we've ever had. And I was like, really? He was like, no, like the guys really like appreciate you coming out and speaking and, kind of giving your story and your testimony. And I was like, well, like, honestly, like for me, it was a bit of a rough patch. It was like kind of living hell, going through what I went through, but being able to come out on the other side and share it, and people actually enjoy it and appreciate it. It makes that journey that much sweeter. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, I'm glad I went through that. You know what I mean? I'm glad I went through this so that these guys don't necessarily have to do it, or even if they're doing it, then I can have a way to connect with them, because that's the biggest thing. The future's always, with the next generations, and we've always got to have a way to connect with them. And I know, like me being a younger kid in college, even before I went, people were telling me, hey, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. But it was just like, man, like, what do you know? Like, you never made it to the NFL, you never made it here. Like, you're not even where I am right now. So it's awesome to be where these guys are right now. I've been there, to be where they want to go. And they listen. They listen. And it's crazy because, they get it from guys who are much older than me and Artie and you. And even if they've been there before, they're like, well, you were there in 1960, you know what I mean? Or 1980, yeah. Like, the whole world has changed, like, you don't know anything. So it's like, well, look, bro, I was there in 2019. It's only 2024. I know a little something. It ain't changed that much. Now you just got money in your pocket, but hey,
which makes it more dangerous.
Yeah, it's more dangerous. So more responsibility.
No doubt.
No, no wonder that he really enjoyed you coming out and speaking to him, and they did too. Because that crock pot analogy was like a Facebook comment just hit us up with. I mean, that's good stuff, brother.
I just wrote all that down in my notes, man. Stuff I'm going to keep in the chamber.
I got a few good ones up my sleeve.
Yeah, I'm going to have to hit you up after this. You said something, culture needs to be continuously redeveloped. That's something that resonated with me. And I think makes a lot of sense for what you're saying to these guys. And you think, dude, life happens, man. I know that all too well. And, ultimately it's kind of how you respond, right? How do you ultimately overcome these little things? And football is such an interesting team sport. Jon, you know this, JC, you know this, like you're hit with adversity all the time in football, like throughout the game, right? It's like I had a conversation with JC one time. I was like, each game is like a season, right? It really is, right? You're going to hit adversity through a season no matter what, but like each game can feel like a season. And I think a lot about the guy, this team and these guys, and when culture is so defined, like at a place like Georgia, where like success has just become like the standard is so high that, and the talent is all there that like they expect to win. I'm curious to like, what you think about when you talk about like continuously redevelop. Do you think it's a complacency thing, or do you think it's just like these guys don't necessarily know what it took to get to that standard? Not to say they're not meeting the standard, right? But like you were on the trajectory up, right? You played in a national championship, if I remember correctly, in 17, 18, right? Yeah. So it's like you were on the way up. After that, it was like it felt like the hard work was almost done. Not done, but you get what I'm saying. So I would love for you to kind of dive into that a little bit if you could.
It's almost like this. I got to give another analogy. So
please do.
Along with family, like I'm just super like faithful person. Try to be not a sinner, you know what I'm saying, for sure. But I try to, live the right way and do the right thing.
Yeah.
But most of the time, I believe this. I believe that I'm living off of the prayers of the people before me, if that makes sense. So, my grandma
Yep.
was super faithful, had 14 kids. My mom, single parent. My dad, passed away when I was young, and my metaphor for my nonprofit is it takes a village. So I've had a village of people before me praying before I've even, made it to the NFL or made it to college or, made it through the trials and tribulations that I've gone through.
Mhm.
And I believe that those prayers have guided me and helped me and are the reason that, I'm able to, along with hard work and dedication as well. But, with to be able to get through those adversities, like you said, those trials and tribulations of every game, you know what I'm saying? And life is literally like that too. So every day is like, hey, I might have to go through something today. And I think these guys, not saying that they're not working hard or, talented, like you said, they have it, you know what I mean? But the crazy thing about a standard or a culture is once it's established, of course, it takes a certain level of commitment and discipline to meet it, and you can be there. But the true, I feel like, purpose of a standard is not to meet it; it's to exceed it. And these guys are like, well, we're good enough to win football games, and that is for sure. But are you guys good enough to win all the football games and beat yourselves in every single category? So we literally used to come in there and be like, whether the what forget what the scoreboard said. It was like, did we hold this team to under 75 rushing yards? Did we meet our goals? You know what I mean? It was never about the other team. And I know it's so cliche to say that, like, it's not about these guys. Obviously, you got to study them, you got to know what you're doing, but like you're doing that to give yourself an edge. And there's always got to be a new way to get an edge. So if these guys got an edge by having the talent and, but the skills or, just the cohesiveness of a team, whatever they have, they can use that. But then you got to find new things to add to your repertoire to put you over the edge of the standard so you can exceed it. And I think that the team this year is phenomenal. I think that they're great. I think that they're operating well within the standard, but I think it's going to take, and they're starting to realize that, hey, like, if we want to keep Georgia the way Georgia has been, it's going to take a little bit more this year. It's different than the years before. And I wouldn't say that the teams that have won the national championship in the past, were necessarily living off of our coattails, but it was like, hey, like, it was almost an honor thing. It was like these guys worked so hard to get Georgia back to here. We owe it to ourselves as a team and also to the G to keep it this way. Like we don't want to go back. Only way is forward. And you talk about complacency and people say, well, they're not, I'm not complacent or, we're still winning. And complacency is a weird thing. Like, because even if you're winning, like, even you can talk about it too, or, when Coach Rick was there, winning 10 games became like, we're winning 10 games. And it was like, well, like, do y'all want to win 10 games or do y'all want to win a national championship? And, you got to look at this team as well and just ask them, you got to ask the guys, I just like, what do you want to do? You guys want to win another national championship or you guys just want to, be a good football team? Like, pick. And I think you have to make that decision. They have to make that decision. There's nothing that we could do for them. We could talk on these live talks or, sports commentating things all day, but it wouldn't matter. It's up to the guys in the room. And they're going to discuss what they discuss in the room and do what they're going to do from those discussions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I always say this about complacency. Complacency is a cancer. You know what I mean? And sometimes you don't even realize it's there, that it's infected your body and your soul. You know what I mean? And then 6 months go by, 9 months go by, you think everything is great, and then something happens or you get the news, and all of a sudden you're like, no, I've been silently fighting this thing for a while, and now it's consumed. It's all consuming. So I'm with you there, man. Complacency it's a killer for sure.
And
Casey, you about to say something?
Yeah, I kind of want to add to that, Artie, because you almost asked the same question we had for John here, which was going back to your career. We'll talk about that national championship season where you made it. And I find some similarities here with Georgia sitting where they are because, that team is undefeated before they play Auburn. Auburn just absolutely boat raced Georgia that year in the regular season, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you look at the games following that, and that woke up the monster. And, Georgia goes off and just wipes Auburn in the SEC championship, and then, the rest is history there, making it to the national championship. Was there something after that Auburn game that stands out in your mind where a decision was made, like the decisions you're talking about, maybe a player standing up or two, something like that? I mean, because obviously that team responded so well, and you look at this team, you look at that Georgia-Alabama game, right? That first half. Now, the response in the second half was incredible. It wasn't a boat race situation. Georgia came all the way back to take the lead barely in an incredible fashion, but was just one play away there from winning that game. But now you have a loss on your schedule for the first time in 43 regular season games, right, through that dominant period. There kind of has to be a similar situation for Georgia to go off and do what they want to do, which is, of course, college football playoff national championship. I'm wondering if something there that you saw that kind of turned that team up a notch and allowed them to respond well, and what these guys need to do that same thing.
I literally had just got chills. So literally, I remember that game, and it was sickening. I think it was close to the holidays. We were in Auburn, and everything was just like literally going to shit. Like it was like, I remember Miko like muffed a punt. Like we let up a QB run. Kerryon Johnson was just like running all over us. Like, and it was just like almost one of those things where you're trying to catch up, but like everything just seems unmanageable. And then like the crowd got into it. Like, I don't know if you guys know like the song Swag Surf. Like that's a big Atlanta song. They just had Kirk Cousins swag surfing in Atlanta. But man, the whole team is swag surfing on the sideline. The crowd is like, the stadium is swag surfing. You literally feel it. And I'm like, dang. I'm never a person to be like, we're going to lose this game or anything like that. But it was just like they have all the momentum. We needed to do something. And like, even when we came in at halftime, it was just like, we were trying to hype it up, trying to, get everything together. And we came out and it was just like, literally, like you said, like a boat race. I was like, man, like it's too far gone. It's too late, to get this one. So after we lost it, it was like, it was just a terrible feeling in the locker room. Like the plane ride, like everything was just like, this is never happening again. And we definitely went into that game like, we're supposed to win this. We expected to win. We expected it to be like, we're undefeated. Like, we're Georgia. Like this is Auburn. Like, and they had a damn good football team that year. And like, we underestimated them as players. Our coaches were like, you need to take this team serious and this and that. And I think that, answers your question. It's up to the players. Like the coaches are going to keep coaching. They're going to keep calling the plays. But it's up to the players to decide like, hey, like, that's not how we're going to play anymore. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to hold each other accountable. And the crazy thing about football, people say it all the time, it's a game of inches. So, you even think about the Alabama game when we played, when they got the, Hail Mary, you think about the game that they just played when they came back and took the lead in similar fashion. Like you got to play till the end and you got to like give 100% till the end. Otherwise you may lose if you don't. And sometimes freak stuff happens, but like you try to control that with how you prepare, how you're focused and everything, like, all the way until that clock hits, 4 zeros. And I think it's up to these guys to literally go back and evaluate as a team, and coaches. Like we had meetings where we were like, hey, like coaches got to get out, y'all can't be in here right now. Like we need to talk about this. And I think that's when that really started that year. And we had a couple meetings like that. And even before we played them in the SEC championship, I don't even think I played D tackle that game. I think I played outside linebacker that game. That's how crazy. We were like game plan today, but I was like, Coach, when they run the ball, I want to be on the edge. I want to set the edge. I don't even have to pass rush. I was like, but if they do pass rush, we need to send a blitz up the middle. You know what I'm saying? So we get some rush. Like, I'm 290. On the edge, I could do it, but we need to do the game this way. And it was crazy because it was like we started calling the game, and it was really even more crazy because the coaches were like, we think this is a good idea, like that you got, like y'all came up with a good idea, and we actually went out there and we executed it. And I feel like we were in heavy package like 30-40% of the game, and we destroyed them.
Yeah, you guys were.
We destroyed them.
I remember that game.
Yeah,
it was my cousin's wedding. I had to go to at the hotel bar. I had to go watch the game from this little TV, the Auburn game, right? And that was over before it began because I think Isaac had like a early touchdown, nada, and Swift I think like went off or something.
He was crazy that game.
But I think I want to go back to one thing, John, that you said that like is compelling because we had a similar situation in 2012. And JC, we can get to like predictions and stuff after this, but I think this is interesting, right? You said like there was a player-led type meeting at some point in that 2017 or 18 regular season. I forgot that's what happens when you get old, man. You forget the years. But we had something similar in 2012 because we got beat pretty badly in South Carolina game day. That was when Clowney was there and Lattimore, and we got beat like the brakes off us. You know what I mean? And after that week, we had a guy named Sean Williams. You probably remember Sean, 10 years in the league, stud. Like Sean never said anything. He was always lead by example, but he like came out and called us out in the press and said, it's not the coaches, it's up to us. And it was a pivotal moment because like from that point on, we boat raced everybody until the Alabama game. So I guess just like my question to you is like, do you think that when we talk about be continuously redeveloped, right? Do you think that Colbie came in and created the mindset like I want the players to take the lead? Do you think that like Colbie has had so much success that like his players now like maybe don't naturally take the lead and it's now like a coach-led team, even though Colbie probably doesn't want that?
100%. It is that. Just by going to the practices, kind of seeing that stuff. And,
right.
I never want to talk bad about my alma mater or anything like that, but it's not even to talk bad about them. I want these guys to embody this. I want them to, take on the next step. And every team, essentially, the coach is the focal point. You know what I mean? Like it's like the head coach is like, people look to him for leadership, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. But I feel like effective leadership, and Colbie, this is what probably frustrates him so much. He knows this. He's like, well, I want you guys to look to me as leaders, but I want you to be your own leader. Like, what if I'm not on the field? I'm not in the game. So I'm calling the plays to make you successful, but it's always like this, you make the coach look good. The players make the coach look good. It's not the other way around. You know what I mean? Like coaches, sometimes they call great plays and it's great. But a lot of the times, like, coaches call plays and they're like, I think this is going to work against this, but it's up to the 11 people on the field at the time to make the executions that the coach is like, well, that looks good because we had 11 people executing at a high level and we didn't have 9 people executing at a high level. Everything went great. And it could be a bad call, great call, whatever. But if everyone's doing their job, it's a good call. So when I say like the biggest thing about this team, like these guys are all good kids, man. Like, even though they're getting, sometimes, they have the off the field stuff. Everybody has that, man. I know they have more than other schools. Well, you got to think about it. It's Georgia. They got more money than a lot of people with this new NIL, this new climate. So like, and it's education that these guys are needing. It's the leadership part that these guys are needing, not only on the field, but also in their everyday lives, like the extracurricular stuff that they're doing as well. And I would say because of the success, yeah, Colbie's in that spotlight now. He's like, he's the best. This is the best coach in college football. Coach Saban just, retired. So all eyes are on him. You know what I mean? And people are going to that school. Okay, I can make bread. I can make money here. Okay, I got a good coach, the best coach in college football. I'm going to go play here. I'm going to listen to what he says. He's going to get me in the league. These guys are making first-round draft picks year and year again. And that's great. Like, that's amazing. You know what I mean? But from a standpoint of be where your feet are while you're in college before you even have the opportunity to go to the league, it's still up to you as a player. I remember when I was coming out, Coach Smart was literally on the field. He's like, Led, like, they saying you're going to be undrafted. And we're literally practicing for Georgia Tech. And already, Georgia Tech, this is when they were still doing cuts. Thank God they don't do it anymore. We literally had like an hour period of like doing cut blocks. And then like, I'm like, man, I'm tired of getting cut. Like he was like, started over. We started the whole period over. And then we do the inside drill, team run, team inside. And he's literally in my ear, like right here. He's like, Led, they saying you're going to be undrafted. You saying you're going to be undrafted. And like, I'm pissed. Like I'm angry. He's not saying this to necessarily make me mad or anything like that. He's just saying like, that's what they're saying. And I actually ended up being undrafted. You know what I mean? And it was wild, but he just kind of created this hunger in me, like it's up to me. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
it's up to me. Like he's just telling me, he's just reiterating what they're saying. Like he's just reiterating these plays to these guys, but it's up to the players. And once these guys realize that and take it upon themselves, they can still be led by Coach Smart. But and when you lead yourself and you come to another leader, like the work that you guys can do together is massive. You know what I mean? It's monumental. And I think that's where they got to get to individually. And they got to create a few assholes on the team, like, respectfully, they got to
100%.
do it. Everybody wants to be nice and everybody's like, we're doing this. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. Let me do my job. Let me collect my check. And it's like, no, no, let's win these games. Like you didn't go to class. Okay. Like, all right, we need to go. I'm gonna wake you up today. Or like, okay, you missed a rep at practice, or you didn't go 100%, or you didn't cross the line. Like, you got to get on people. You know what I mean? Because if you don't, like you said, that complacency thing, it's like, okay, well, we can skip a rep, or we can not run 100% this time, or we can not run a route, or pass rush, at 100% this time, and like that creeps in, and as that grows, it becomes the cancer. You know what I mean? And you don't, and before you know it, it's too late. And it's not too late for these guys. I just think that, this was the greatest thing that honestly could have happened to them. It was the greatest thing that happened to us in 2017 when we lost. And I was like, we got to do something about it. No one else can. Like, coach didn't play that game. We just played that game. We muffed the punts. We didn't make the tackles. We didn't score the touchdowns. So what are we going to do? And and we did that. It started to change.
Yeah. And Nick Saban said this. I wrote a piece for Athlon Sports earlier today. Nick Saban said he texted Kirby that same thing that you just said. This is the best thing that could have happened to you, was the Alabama loss, right? And you just said in your own experience that happened to you. Alabama only went undefeated twice in all those national championships that Saban helped the Crimson Tide to. So yeah, this is a great point for Georgia too, to have that early anyway, because after Mississippi State, you've got some big ones, right?
Yeah.
You got Texas, you got Ole Miss, you got Tennessee. That's going to be huge in the SEC championship race, but also getting yourself a good spot in the college football playoff. And John, thank you so much for your time, man. If you want to stay on for our real quick in Mississippi State predictions and such, we'll have you as our celebrity guest picker if you want.
For sure.
Absolutely. Awesome. So if you're talking about a game you might be able to look past, you could point out to this one, right? Because, Vanderbilt has a better record than Mississippi State right now. They're 1-4. They got blown out by Toledo 41-17 in week 2. It's crazy, right? It's a rebuilding program. They're on their second head coach since Mike Leach, unfortunately passed. Rest in peace to the Pirate. One of the best to ever do it. They're rebuilding with Jeff Lebby, former offensive coordinator at Oklahoma. He comes over. He doesn't have the players he wants to run his system. Here's the thing. You can easily look past him, like I said, but what are you going to do to respond here in your home stadium? Kirby Smart's already called out the fans. I'm sure he's called out the players as well. You have a situation right now where you're a 34-point favorite at home, right? And all those things you talked about, John, where you're, a player-led team and such. Don't you feel like this might come out at this time in a game like this, to where you could easily wake up asleep and go out there and play? It might be in a fourth quarter game, right? And then at that point, your starters, you're about to play Texas. You got a situation when they're playing a lot more snaps than they need to be and everything like that. Or you show up early and fast, execute well on both sides of the ball, and you have a situation where their younger players can come in and play and get some confidence up, get some reps in before you might need them the next week. That's kind of where we sit right here. Mississippi State, they're not great in any category. They're 1-4, right? Georgia, they have them on every side of the ball, almost every position, right? It's about execution right here. And Artie, he loves to say that as well. Execution is key. I don't know if they covered 34 guys. I feel like that's a huge line for an SEC game. I don't care who it is. Even if it was Vanderbilt, 34 is crazy. I don't know. John, I feel like celebrity guest picker should go first. I'm going to let you go. It's a 34-point line. Like I said, the over-under is 53.5. Georgia, like I said, they could be looking past here. It's all about execution. What do you think this one's going to turn out like?
Honestly, I was going to say closer to 28. You know what I mean? And I think that they could run it up more. I think it's going to be like 28-7. Truthfully, that's my prediction. Even though that they got them on paper, like you said, it's still an SEC school. And the craziest part about it is, like, I don't know what it is, like, about the SEC. Georgia and Bama always have like teams just play us tougher.
Mhm.
Like they do.
Yeah.
Like even when I watched the Kentucky game, like I literally remember, back to the time when I was in college and we played Kentucky when we were in Kentucky to win the East. And it was one of the hardest games toughest games I played in. Like as far as like on my body, I'm getting on the plane. I'm like, I just went to war. You know what I mean? So teams always play us tough, and Mississippi State is one of those teams because we don't play them all the time. So I think it'll be closer to that in 28-7. Um, they could go in there and kind of start off slow. I was just at the Auburn game, and truthfully, Georgia started off a little bit slow. I would like to see them, like you said, come in and start fast. That's the biggest thing for them, to build that confidence up again, and to know like, hey, we still got a great football team, and to go in there and steamroll over Mississippi State would be a great, confidence booster. It's like, all right, well, we already expected to win, but like we did that, we dominated. So I would like to see them dominate. I would like to see them cover the 34-point, spread. Not that I'm betting or anything, but I would just like to see them put on a dominant performance as far as execution. Like Artie says, execute at 100%. Don't do it because of who you're playing. Do it because of what you guys need to do for you to give you that confidence to say, hey, we can execute at 100% from the beginning of the game to the end, and not just turn it on, when we're getting beat or in the second half. Four quarter football game.
Absolutely. Artie, what you think, man? What are your keys to it, you think? What do you want to see from them? And what's that score prediction for you?
Yeah, man, I agree with a lot of what John said. I think the thing with Georgia is, and we've talked about it. I know I've been missing for a couple of weeks, but people need to step up, right? Carson Beck has been playing very well. I know he had the Alabama game, but it took a lot of guts to come back. But we need playmakers to be like, drop their on the table and be like, all right, like I'm going all out. Right? They relied heavily on Bowers for the past couple of years because Bowers just like, I'm gonna make a play no matter what. Right. And I think they got a couple guys on defense, but Georgia's always had like game changers on defense, right? They need some offensive guys to just take the reins. You know what I mean? Like Carson's a pure passer, and he's not going to be the Jaden Daniels or the Lamar, right? So he can't take over a game with his legs. We've talked about it. It's not a knock on him. That's just how it is. So I hope that someone is just, I know the running backs have gotten a little, lively lately. I'm hoping that they kind of continue that. I think it's going to be 35-7. I think it's going to be a 28-point game. I don't think it's going to be as big as the spread. So I think Mississippi State will cover. But we need one of these players on offense to be like, all right, I've had enough. Whether it's a running back and he goes for 180, whether it's Dom and he's just going to go for like $140 with 2 touchdowns, or it's one of the tight ends. Someone's got to do it because, like you said, JC, we got a gauntlet of teams coming up here, and we're going to make the playoff because we're going to be a top 12 team, but it's like a 4-game road now to a national championship. Like, it's a long way. I personally love it as a fan because it's great football, but as a team, like, man, holy shit, dude, that's a long season, right? And John knows how the NFL seasons are. Those things are long, dude. They're long. And now it's basically like an NFL season.
Absolutely. No, it is, Artie. And I think that's why I even put more focus on the situation to where you don't want to have to play your starters against teams you don't have to play them against all game.
Yeah.
I mean, how many miles does that take off your body? And those two positions you guys play, not only are you running a lot, you're taking on hits 100 times a game. And it's like, it wears on you. Like you said, Artie, it's a long season, man. And you're already thin. Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting, but the only way you could take those starters out is if you start fast, like John said, because you got to get up 21-0 in the first quarter. Like if you pull them out 41-7, but it was 14-7 at halftime, like you're playing a full game of football. You know what I mean? So I'm with you, JC, but if they need to, the offense needs to just go.
They just got to turn it up.
Well, Artie, all right. The question is, do they do it? What's your score prediction?
I think they're gonna. I think 35-7. I think, but I don't know, man. I thought they were gonna do it 3 weeks ago, and to be honest, they're not. Like, so my personal opinion is that they're playing with fire, right? And Mississippi State, they'll be able to walk over. Florida's god awful. They'll be able to walk over. But they need someone to step up on offense ASAP and be a difference maker, a playmaker, a game changer if they want to be able to go, Texas, Ole Miss, and so on and so on, if they want to go, because where they, in their minds, they think they're going. But defensively, I'm never worried because they got dogs on defense. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and they
absolutely.
But and so the question is, the answer to your question is, I don't know, but it's not for lack of ability. I will say that.
Yeah, and that's why we talked so much about the offense this year, is because we're not worried about the defense. You had one bad half of football the entire year, and that was against Alabama. And it's kind of that question too. It's like, well, the offensive start slow. How bad does that affect your defense? Because it definitely does.
A lot.
Right?
You got to be on the field a lot more. You got to play more snaps. And
kills them, dude. It kills them.
When you get to the fourth quarter and you're a team that's played like 60 snaps, like you're cooked. You're cooked. I remember when we were, in the national championship, we had the defense on the field. We were dominating the whole entire game, but even the snaps that we were on, when we had those, turnovers, like just ball going back and forth, we had to quickly get back on the field after being on the field. Like, it made a difference. Like, I remember, when they made the switch between what was it? The second year was Tua was in, and then Jalen Hurts. The first year was Jalen Hurts, and they put in Tua. It was literally like night and day. Like, everybody on the field was gassed already. You put in a new quarterback, fresh legs, and he starts to move around. And it was literally like, yeah, we might be a little fatigued. Like, I'm seeing how this many snaps starts to accumulate and wear and tear on the body. It matters. It matters.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, right, that's that. Go ahead and put another notch in. We need this offense to, as in Georgia, needs this offense to start a little faster, and they need to get used to doing it. So that's why I'm saying Mississippi State, this is your opportunity to go ahead and prove to yourself that you can do it.
Yeah.
Right? Expose the areas that they have weaknesses, and boy, there's plenty, right? Mississippi State they're the easiest team to complete a pass against. It's like 10.7 yards per pass. They're allowing 75% completion. Carson Beck is a completion percentage machine, okay? He eats up zones. He's going to take the shots man-to-man. What Artie's saying, and I second this wholeheartedly, Artie, is got to have it, guys, right? We talked about him the last few weeks. Who is that guy? Colbie Young started to be that guy, and now he's suspended indefinitely. You got guys, you've got talent there that can do it. Maybe they didn't have the opportunity as much thus far. They're going to have it now, right? So that's what you want to see if you're a Georgia fan going into this. Mississippi State-wise, they're on their backup quarterback. Their starters out for the season. They have a true freshman in, very inexperienced. They've had issues really doing both things, especially passing, but they're going to try to run the ball, right? That's where you can keep Carson Beck off the field. You can keep that offense off the field completely for Georgia, try to eat up drives, eat up yards. They played Texas pretty close in the first half the other week. I think they were down 14-6. So I think at least that first half, they're going to hit you in the mouth. They're an SEC team. Like John said it and like Artie said, they're an SEC team. So they're going to get you. They're going to hit you in the mouth. Can you take advantage of the areas that you're better at in the first half? And I think that's really important for these guys. I think they do it. I think they step up. I think there's a lot, and they've listened to this media. I know, like, Kirby Smart's probably in those guys' ears. You're going to go undrafted, or you're going to lose to Georgia Tech, whatever he's telling them, if you don't get things tightened up right now. I think, Artie, and you'll love this, I love Lawson Lucky, the tight end, the sophomore. I think he's a better pass catcher than Oscar Delp right now. I don't know how that's happened, but it looks like it to me on the field. He's really quick once he gets the ball in his hands. He can beat linebackers man-to-man. He's shown that. Carson Beck's either missed him or he's gotten sacked before he's had the opportunity to get in his hands. But I love Lawson Lucky. I think he has a big game. ETN, this could be one of those situations where he goes for like $120 or such. I think the opportunities are there for him to do that. I don't think they cover 34. I'm going 42-14. I think that offense is fast. We'll go with that. And they're moving on to Texas, right? In the best case scenario, you're up 30-0, 30-7 in the first half. Coast, get those young guys in there, get some confidence under their belt, and move on. John, we're almost done here. We've got a couple minutes. We'll go pick them. You're a celebrity guest picker. I don't know if you've been watching a lot of other college football or just the dogs, but from what I noticed on College Game Day is the guest pickers, the less they know about football, or at least what the current teams are doing, the better they are. So you might just wipe the slate. We're gonna pick 5 games real quick. All right, South Carolina at Alabama. All right, bounce back game for Alabama. They just dropped it to Vanderbilt for the first time since 1984. Okay. They're getting 21 points here at home, right? I've got South Carolina to cover the 21. This could be a situation where Jalen Milroe goes off and what have you, but that defense has a lot of issues. Artie, who you got? And then we'll go John to wrap it up on that one.
I got Alabama winning the game, but South Carolina covering. So I don't think they're going to blow them up by 21.
I think the same thing. So yeah, literally, I was going to say the same thing. I think that it'll be a response game for them. But like you said, they've got a lot of they've got a lot of cracks. So they got to figure out how to fill those. And I think they're going to try this game, but I think that they'll cover the spread too.
I like it. Texas, Oklahoma, Red River rivalry. It is the first time the SEC has hosted that, right? Both teams coming in this year. Texas getting 14.5 points, right? It's a neutral site, Cotton Bowl. I like Oklahoma's defense enough to really give them some problems. They played really good against Tennessee. That defense did. Their offense, they got a running quarterback. He's getting some starts under his belt. He's a freshman, but he's been running the ball really well. And I know that can really mess the defense up at times. So I got Oklahoma to cover 14.5. Artie, what say you, man?
Yeah, I got Oklahoma too, and I think it's going to be very interesting if it's a close game at halftime, and if viewers looks a little shaky, you know how those fans are going to get. They're going to be like, "Put our boy Arch in," and then it's going to be all hell's going to break loose in Texas. But I think Texas will win, but it'll be close just because that's a rivalry game. Just like I think Florida and Georgia will be close at least for a half in a couple weeks. Those games. They're always a little bit of a wild card.
Yeah. And John, just to even give you this little tidbit too, Oklahoma won last year. That was huge upset. They had Dylan Gabriel though. They had Dylan Gabriel, so their quarterback was, much better. They are missing some receivers, but just to give you that, who you got? You got Oklahoma.
I still got Texas too. I think it'll be a really close game though. I think it'll be either their defense. Oklahoma's defense is actually really good. I think it'll be, if they're able to create some turnovers, I think it'll be a really close game, like maybe one score field goal type deal.
Dude, yeah, absolutely. And I love that game too because it is usually so close. There's only been like one blowout in the last 5-6 years. Penn State, getting 3.5 points at USC. USC really has a lot of trouble stopping the run. Penn State loves to do it, but it is at USC though, so I guess that's why the line's so short. I don't know. I feel like this is a little weird line, guys. I like Penn State, maybe like 10, 17.
I like Penn State. They're undefeated too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been cooking. I'm not gonna lie. I like Penn State.
Yeah, and they got
3.5.
3.5. Yep.
Yeah, I got Penn State.
Yeah, and they got Ohio State in a couple weeks too. Sorry, Artie, go ahead.
Victory, baby. Give me the Trojans. Upset.
Upset. Oh, all right. So Lincoln Riley stops the run. Okay.
Well, I didn't say that. I'm just saying that I think in big games, USC
they do show up. They show up.
And they pull a quarterback out of there, every year. And it's like, I don't know where he's like, he may not end up being an NFL, whatever, but he always ends up being a stud. This kid, Miller Moss, is like a dude. And he was nobody like 6 months ago. So he'll probably throw for like 600 yards or something. It'll be a shootout, but I like USC at home. If it was away, I'd say no, Penn State.
Oh, it's at USC.
It's at USC.
That's a little tough, but I still would go Penn State.
Yeah, I'm basing it off of running the ball. That's really kind of it for me, and defense, because I know Penn State's a little bit better there, but it is early in the season, so I could see anything. 2 more here real quick. Florida at Tennessee. All right, 14.5 points Tennessee is getting at home after losing to Arkansas. So they go on the road. That game happens. Now they're back in Neyland Stadium. This feels like a Tennessee by 20 to me. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's kind of setting up for them in Florida. John, I've picked Florida 3 times this year just to cover the spread, and they've gotten blown out every time. Not just not cover the spread, gotten blown out by like 40.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what's going on. Like, they're terrible this year, and I'm glad for it. Because as long as they go to that Georgia-Florida game, I know they always play tough, but I just let Georgia, that could be another confidence booster right there.
Yeah, I like it. Artie?
I think Tennessee ends Billy Napier's career at Florida this weekend.
Oh, so you think it's going to be that bad?
Like, yeah, I think it's going to. I think there's going to be just blood, just flowing down the Tennessee River, dude. I'm telling you, I'm shocked Florida beat UCF, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, they should have. I think they should have lost that game.
I think Tennessee's pissed. They should, because Tennessee should have beat Arkansas. They shot themselves in the foot that entire game. It was ugly to watch.
Yep,
they're a good football team.
Yeah, and when you play for Tennessee, and I've noticed this year, and really last year too at times, which when their defense has an advantage, their defense just plays so well. Their offense benefits amazingly, right? And they kind of outplay what they do against better teams. You know, against better teams, the defense, right? They get gashed here and there, and it kind of gives a whole different game. I don't think Florida has that in them. So I'm all in on Tennessee this week. Ole Miss, this is going to be a really good game, right? You got Ole Miss, one loss, still in the top 10, at LSU, just outside the top 10 with that one loss to USC, conveniently enough. Ole Miss is getting 3.5 points. This is in Death Valley, boys, and this is at night, which is a whole situation in itself.
Give me LSU. I'm gonna go ahead and say, man, trust me. We went there, and we played them my last year, and I don't even think it was at night. I think it was like 3:30, or maybe
was it noon? Was that one at noon?
Yeah, we got destroyed.
Yeah, good grief.
And it was still insane. Like when I tell you, like, I'm just hearing the chant. I ain't gonna say the chants on here. You know what they say. But it was bad. Like, I was like looking up in the stands, and I was just like, yeah, we're cooked. Like, we're cooked. It was too late. Like, when I looked up, it was like, yeah, the game is far gone.
Yeah, let the band play neck. Okay, I got LSU. Artie, what you got, brother?
I like Ole Miss, man. Don't ask me what, but I like Ole Miss, so I'm taking Ole Miss.
Dude, if Ole Miss goes into LSU like that, right, a team that's been playing better since that opening week loss, at night, I'm going to think a lot more of Ole Miss, like a lot more, right?
For sure.
Because that's going to take a heck of a performance.
If Ole Miss was undefeated, I would take LSU in this.
LSU.
But I think Ole Miss they sharpened up after that Kentucky game.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I like it because LSU, they don't have an SEC loss. They're one of 3 unbeatens in the SEC. So this, if they do pull this off, it's going to be huge for them. But yeah, it's going to be an awesome game, guys. This has been one of my favorite shows of the season. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jon, for coming on and share the crock pot analogy. I think I'm going to take that. I'll give you credit, but I got to use it, man.
Thank you,
Jon. Let's get you back on the show sometime, and this was fun.
Man, you guys let me know. So I'm literally rehabbing a ACL from last season. So
damn,
I got some free time. So you guys let me know whenever you guys want me on. I'm trying to get into the commentator, podcast little area.
Let's do it, man.
This is great practice for me. So just let me know.
Absolutely, man. And hey, best wishes on your recovery, of course. Best wishes. I can't wait to see you back on Sundays when you get a chance. And guys, if you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube at Pulse Sports Network, we appreciate you as always. Hopefully a good game here in Athens. 4:15 kick on the SEC Network. If you don't have that, make sure you go ahead and get it in your tool belt there for Saturday's game. And until next time, we'll be back for instant reactions right after the Mississippi State game. We'll talk about that game. We'll look ahead and see what Texas did against Oklahoma that day as well. We'll have it all here on UGA Football Live. Until next time, guys, again, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.